For decades, Oak Island has been a mystery, with traditions claiming that Vikings visited it before Columbus and that it was the knight's hidden treasure. For more than 2 centuries, people have been excavating, drilling, and diving on Oak Island to discover what lies beneath. One of the largest mysteries is borehole 10X in the symbols that were used to formulate the cipher. However, new evidence suggests that the Romans may have also been there. Templar pirates and even the Romans buried gold deep underground. Over the years, pieces of equipment have been lost, rocks, dirt, and debris have collapsed into the shaft, making it difficult for anyone to descend. Macacair's Marks is a deep, dangerous, water-filled shaft that has been the focus of treasure hunters for decades. Dan Blanken's ship, one of Oak Island's most committed searchers, believes that this borehole could lead to whatever was buried deep underground. Borehole 10. X is not an easy dig. It begins with a 181-foot vertical drop through a reinforced steel and concrete shaft narrowed into a 44-ton long tunnel that is only 27 inches wide and submerged in murky water with no visibility. The crew on the surface would use an underwater communication system to keep in touch with Harvey Marash and Michael Gartz as they explored 10X. Michael would act as a safety diver while Harvey descended. How long has he been in now? 30 minutes? I'm thinking if this goes too long, then I'm going to start worrying. However, things started to fall apart when Michael's communication system failed, leaving them 100 feet underwater in total darkness with no voice or signal. The team on the surface had no idea if Michael was safe, and they attempted to call his name, but were unsuccessful. Amid the chaos and impending disaster at Borehole 10X, the team had no way of knowing if Michael was stuck or running out of air. They tried tapping on the pipe to send signals, but were unsuccessful. Because of the risky decompression stops, the squad was unable to shoot straight up, which made them anxious. Harvey made it quite far down when a light appeared beneath the water's surface, and everyone exhaled in relief. However, he was unable to see anything inside the small tunnel and had to feel his way around the walls to try to determine what was down there, possibly ancient wooden structures, broken rocks, and other random objects. But the fabled treasure chamber remained a mystery. Harvey attempted to maneuver around the drill bar, a huge 20-ton metal bar that had inadvertently fallen into 10X decades ago, but the tunnel was too small and his movement was constrained. He had to twist and push himself backwards, scraping against the rough walls, and his breathing became more difficult every second. Eventually, they were able to escape and begin climbing again, but the entire ordeal made it abundantly evident that 10X would not readily divulge its secrets because they knew they had to change things up because the shaft was unpredictable and dangerous. They knew pulleys were frequently used in intricate mechanisms, so they weren't going to let one setback stop them from exploring Oak Island's many mysteries. In another area, they discovered something odd, beginning with a common rusted metal piece buried in the dirt. After more dirt was removed, it became evident that it was a well-made pulley. Disappointed, they said, "You just burned something out in here, you got fire in here." We do know that pirates operated, but whether the Romans soared the Oak Island crew found in Maun Bay off the coast of Oak Island in the 1940s is what we believe it to be. Its originality rests on how it got here. A local family who had been illegally scalloping in the area for decades discovered the sword. When Charles Barkhouse brought the artifact to the team, they found that it was a weapon made of brass or bronze with a distinctive hilt that carved the image of Hercules, a motif frequently found in ancient Roman military decorations. The finding of this Roman artifact in North America is unprecedented in mainstream history. The Roman Empire expanded across Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa, but never crossed the Atlantic. Some speculated that this was evidence that the Romans had crossed the ocean centuries before Columbus or Norse explorers, while others were more dubious, claiming that even if the sword was genuine, it could have been brought here later by European collectors or through trade routes that carried artifacts much farther. To be sure, the team brought the sword to St. Mary's University in Halifax so that archaeologists and metalwork experts could examine it for miles. McClam observed that the sword resembled ceremonial weapons used by gladiators and high-ranking Roman officers. The hilt featured a figure thought to be Hercules, which was in line with Roman symbolism, and the sword itself had the proper shape, size, and balance for a piece that was nearly 2,000 years old. However, the most crucial test was still to come. Scientists conducted a chemical analysis, which I believe we all have a very basic understanding of as it relates to Oak Island. which revealed that some elements did match Roman metallurgy, such as copper, tin, lead, and arsenic, all of which were consistent with ancient Roman bronze. However, the cast did not fit known Roman techniques, indicating a later time period, possibly medieval or early modern. According to some scholars, the sword may have been made in the 18th or 19th century, using Roman motifs as inspiration, or it may have even been purposefully positioned there to heighten the island's mystery. Over the years, Oak Island, a well-liked location for treasure hunters, has seen a number of disputes and discoveries. One of these was the discovery of a Roman sword that had a high zinc content, which was unusual for ancient Roman bronze. This led to the conclusion that it's really strange, but I like it, I love it, and it's pretty cool. The idea that Romans had lived on the island was significantly undermined when it was discovered that the sword was made of modern brass rather than ancient bronze. Nevertheless, not everyone was persuaded. Some pointed out that some ancient mines contain naturally occurring zinc, which could have contaminated Roman bronze naturally. Others countered that the presence of zinc didn't necessarily mean the sword was fake, and that more testing was necessary. Contrasting the sword with other comparable European swords. The discovery that very identical swords at museums in Italy and Spain had already been identified as copies created in the 1800s sparked additional discussions on whether the sword was an authentic piece or a contemporary fake. The sword's unusual discovery location and metal composition led some experts to conclude that it was a contemporary imitation, while others thought it still had the potential to be an authentic, ancient item. Since it is not the only Roman relic discovered in the area throughout the years, the discovery of the Roman sword has caused one of the largest disputes in the island's history. With several finds that imply the Romans never stepped foot close to North America, Oak Island has been taunting history buffs and treasure seekers. For instance, the tiny, pointed projectiles discovered there that resemble Roman-style crossbow bolts match the bolts employed by the Roman legions. Some contend that they arrived via trade routes much later in history, possibly during the era of European exploration. Another intriguing find is the well-known lead cross found at Smith's Cove, which is still up for debate. Some scholars think it is connected to the Knights Templar, a shadowy order that allegedly crossed the Atlantic to conceal their riches, while others think it may be even older, possibly dating back to the Roman era. Oak Island is a small island in North America that has seen a number of archaeological finds and discussions. When the lead composition of the cross was determined to have originated in southern France, which was once a part of Roman territory, it may indicate that an ancient expedition arrived at Oak Island centuries before anybody else. The etched 90T stone, which was found deep under the money pit and has symbols that no one has been able to decipher over the years, is another intriguing discovery. Researchers have attempted to decipher the code, and some people think the symbols seem like Roman or Phoenician Eros letters. Another major controversy began when a Roman coin was purportedly discovered close to Oak Island, but no one knew exactly where it came from. If genuine, it could indicate that Roman merchants somehow ended up in this area, but coins are difficult to transport, get lost, and are passed down for centuries. Some researchers believe that the strange stone roads and platforms discovered beneath Smith's Cove are not natural formations, but rather were purposefully built by someone. They may resemble ancient European engineering possibly connected to Roman aqueducts or roads. Although the mystery shipwreck near Man Bay has not yet been thoroughly investigated, sonar scans indicate that it may be very old. Some researchers think it may have been built as early as the 1400s, predating Columbus, while others think it may be much older and connected to medieval or ancient seafaring practices. Strange discoveries on Oak Island, like wooden platforms and underground tunnels, point to intentional building. Many of these items and structures predate documented colonial history, which makes it problematic for skeptics to claim that many of these discoveries might be explained by later European explorers or early settlers. The possibility that the Romans may have been here is still up for contention, but the sheer amount of unexplained artifacts and constructions suggests someone was here long before the official time frame permits. The oldest Templar commandery or location, I believe, is in Portugal. Wow, but something unusual happened on Oak Island a long time ago. Whether it was explorers searching for wealth or the history of an unidentified society leaving its mark,